This is a burning Russian Tu-22M3, taken out by a group of Ukrainian recon operatives. To carry out this mission, they trekked 370 miles deep into enemy territory on foot. Tragically, on their way back, the group fell into an ambush, losing their commander in the process. You might ask, why not destroy the aircraft with a missile or a drone? Well, this operation took place in August 2023, at a time when Ukraine didn't have enough long-range strike capabilities, and even the few they had risked being intercepted by Russian air defenses. Limited resources pushed Ukraine to take a different approach, relying on their special forces, who continue to wreak havoc behind enemy lines. These elite spec ops are now ready to unveil the secrets behind some of their boldest missions.
More attacks inside Russia, deep inside Russia?
Deeper and deeper.
Take a look at a vivid scene of a Mi-24 attack helicopter burning near Moscow. Soon after, it was joined by a Ka-32. But that's just one incident. Did Ukrainian agents stir up chaos on other air bases? Absolutely. This aircraft will never take flight again. And here's a military transport Tu-134 engulfed in flames at another Russian military airfield. These crusty aircraft are often used to transport high-ranking officials from Russia's Ministry of Defense. And that's not all. Thanks to Ukrainian agents, the destroyed fleet now includes a shiny new Su-34. Like this video if you're rooting for more of these fiery spectacles from Ukrainian special forces. Every destroyed aircraft we've mentioned cost Russia millions of dollars, and we're not exaggerating. The estimated value of all these aircraft combined is a staggering $357 million. Yet, despite these enormous losses, Russia remains unwilling to abandon its aggressive ambitions. But Ukraine's partisans aren't just targeting Russian aviation. Logistics are also taking a hit. On April 28, 2024, 2 locomotives were set ablaze in the city of Orenburg. Additionally, rail lines have been sabotaged repeatedly, derailing trains carrying military supplies. And let's not forget the audacious individual who boldly torched the regional FSB office building in the dead of night. Why are locals daring to take such actions? A Ukrainian intelligence lieutenant general gives a simple answer.
Це ж класичний зрадник.
It's a classic case of betrayal. Someone selling out their own for money. It works to our advantage, and thank God we find them. The next example is bound to impress you. It seems the Greek titan Prometheus shared fire not just with humanity, but also with this train. It was transporting 40 fuel tankers for the Russian military, but Ukrainian reconnaissance operatives intervened and destroyed it. The result? A $4 million loss for Russia. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more explosive footage like this. Due to a lack of long-range weapons from allies, Ukrainian forces have been actively advancing their missile program and developing long-range drones, and the results are astounding. Just look at the blaze at the Novoshakhtinsk oil refinery after a nighttime drone strike. The attack destroyed 1.5 million tons of oil, amounting to a $540 million loss. And that's just one of many successful operations carried out by the Ukrainian armed forces and intelligence services. Today, such strikes are in the dozens. Strike drones are one way to reduce the enemy's offensive potential and inflict massive financial losses. According to the Pentagon, since the beginning of 2024, Ukrainians have disabled 14% of Russia's oil refining capacity. To mitigate the impact, the Russians banned gasoline exports for 6 months, causing fuel prices to spike by 20 to 30% by mid-March. The Russians believed the war wouldn't affect their well-being, and that they could harm neighboring countries without consequences. The Ukrainian lieutenant general has a different take. When you make bad moves, sooner or later they'll come back to haunt you. Do you agree? Share your thoughts in the comments. To effectively strike targets deep within Russian territory, Ukrainian forces are constantly improving their drones' capabilities. Some of these UAVs can now hit targets up to 1,118 miles away, bringing most of Russia's strategic facilities within range. Check out this dramatic footage of a kamikaze drone striking the Caspian Flotilla's warship dockyard. Swears a Russian onlooker, clearly caught off guard by the impact. The star of this operation? A repurposed A-22 light sport aircraft, loaded with explosives and flown an incredible 689 miles to its target. In another instance, a drone traveled 550 miles to strike an Oman base in Grozny. Here's a close-up of the explosion. Impossible to ignore. Following these successes, the production of these heavy-hitting drones has been scaled up. To expedite results, Ukrainian intelligence has been purchasing old aircraft and converting them into combat-ready UAVs. Another promising innovation is the Palyanytsia, a hybrid drone missile system capable of flying 430 miles. One of its notable missions involves striking a Russian ammunition depot in Tver Oblast, where 30 tons of ammunition were stored. You can see the explosive aftermath for yourself. This is our new way of delivering justice to the aggressor, remarked Ukraine's president after the Palyanytsia's deployment. Given the ongoing threats in the Black and Azov Seas, Ukrainians have also developed specialized naval drones to protect their coastline. In 2022, Russia aimed to dominate these waters and even planned a landing near Odessa. They also regularly launched missiles at Ukrainian cities from the sea and disrupted maritime trade. To counter this, Ukrainian engineers and intelligence services developed the Sea Baby and Magura V5 maritime drones. After rigorous testing, these drones were deployed against large vessels. The results? In over 2 years of war, the Russian Black Sea Fleet has lost 30% of its combat capability. This includes 18 damaged ships and 9 destroyed by Magura V5 kamikaze drones. We've inflicted over $500 million in damages, says Ukraine drone operator proudly. However, sinking combat ships is only half the battle. Snake Island and the gas extraction platforms remained under Russian occupation for an extended period. Without these, Ukrainians couldn't fully control the coastal waters. The battle for Snake Island was a perilous mission. The approaches were heavily mined, and there was no accurate intel on enemy numbers. Here's how an officer from Ukraine's military intelligence, known by the codename Zalizniak, recalls the operation. It was a leap into the unknown. That was the first time I left behind my documents and phone. I wrote down the password and who to call if I didn't make it back. Speed and decisiveness were essential. To catch the Russians off guard, the Special Forces undertook the mission during a storm. The risk paid off. We planted the flag, moved 100 meters away, and then a terrifying missile strike hit the island. Columns of fire and smoke shot 98 feet into the air. Next up was the battle for the gas platforms. To retake them, Ukrainian Special Forces planned an operation using small boats. Their mission came under fire from a Russian Su-30 jet, but the aircraft was struck by a manpad and forced to retreat. The operation was ultimately a success. During the clash, one soldier fell overboard. Stranded 80 miles from shore, he spent 14 hours in the water before being rescued. Here's how he remembers that day. I went through all kinds of emotions. Giving up wasn't an option. I just wanted to keep swimming. I wanted to survive. This man's unbreakable will and mental strength are testaments to the resilience of Ukrainian forces. Mental and psychological preparedness is a critical factor that helps Ukrainians endure even in the harshest conditions. On the other hand, heavy losses on the front lines are taking a toll on Russian morale. Driven by a desire to survive, many Russian soldiers are ready to abandon their weapons and desert their positions. During one mission, a chief of Ukraine's defense intelligence seized the moment and issued an ultimatum to a group of Russian soldiers. Here's how the events were described by an officer known as Motil. You can raise your hands, lay down your weapons, and surrender to us. We guarantee your safety and will arrange your exchange. And that's exactly what happened. To give Russian soldiers a safe and straightforward way to avoid the war, Ukrainian intelligence launched the I Want to Live program. Anyone interested can reach out and receive protection. The results were immediate. One participant in the program not only crossed into Ukrainian territory, but also rescued 2 wounded Ukrainian paratroopers hiding behind enemy lines. They managed to pass through 18 checkpoints and reach safety in Ukraine. Here's how Prapor, one of the participants, described the operation. We got to the extraction point, grabbed shovels as if we were heading to dig trenches, and crossed the front line without weapons. After 3 years of war, many Russians have begun questioning the morality of their actions. Captain Maxim Kuzminov, a Mi-8 helicopter pilot, contacted Ukrainian intelligence and expressed his desire to defect. Ukrainian Special Forces organized a secure corridor for him to fly to a designated location.
Перелетел, все успешно.
I flew over. Everything went smoothly. I landed, and they greeted me. The operation, codenamed Titmouse, allowed the pilot to save his life while providing Ukraine with a fully intact Mi-8 helicopter. This trophy is invaluable to Ukraine, as Mi-8s played a critical role in the defense of Mariupol early in the invasion, a mission worthy of its own spotlight. When Russian forces surrounded the Ukrainian city of Mariupol in the Azov Sea, the defending garrison was left without essential supplies. The number of wounded increased daily, while medical supplies dwindled. The only connection to reinforcements and aid was by sea. To change the situation, Ukrainian Special Services helped organize 7 daring helicopter missions to the Azovstal plant, where Ukrainian troops were holding the line. These missions evacuated 64 wounded soldiers, deployed 72 volunteer reinforcements, and delivered 30 tons of supplies. Due to the intense enemy anti-aircraft fire, 3 helicopters were lost, but the mission's primary objectives were achieved. Imagine the difficulty of such an operation. Ukrainian pilots had to fly nearly 60 miles over occupied territory, heavily guarded by Russian air defenses.
Я лечу, повертаю.
I'm flying. Turn my head, and there it is, a Russian warship. The helicopter was tossing like a toy. How can anyone stay an atheist in moments like this? Recalls the pilot, one of the lucky ones who made it home. Their bravery is nothing short of inspiring. From 2014 to 2022, Ukrainian Security Service (SBU) agents carried out numerous operations targeting Russian military personnel and mercenaries. On occupied eastern territories, they eliminated 2 notorious militant leaders known as Givi and Motorola using explosive devices. To reduce missile strikes on civilians, Ukrainian operatives tracked down and neutralized the commander of the Russian submarine Krasnodar. The commander had launched Caliber missiles at peaceful towns, with 3 hitting a shopping mall and killing 27 people. His downfall? Publicly posting his jogging routes on the Strava app. Using this data, operatives tracked and eliminated him with a Makarov pistol. Additionally, to disrupt Russia's missile development, Ukrainian Special Forces located and dealt with the head of a Russian design bureau. Here's what the head of Ukraine's security service has to say about these eliminated war criminals.
Вони віддають.
They're repaying karmic debts to the Ukrainian people. Special Forces are a unique institution. We don't know their faces, but we see their results on the front pages of the news. Who do you think might be the next target for Ukraine's Special Forces? The T-14 Armata? A hypersonic missile depot? Or maybe Putin's palace? Share your thoughts in the comments.